Chapter 7 6 Missing Kittens. We're too late. They must have left early. Mandy's hand flew to her mouth as she and James ran down the front path of Katie's house the following morning. The house was all boarded up, silent and empty. The family had left. Blackie pulled excitedly at his leash. Even an empty house was an adventure to him. Mandy banged on the front door. The sound echoed down the deserted hall. Mandy's heart pounded. There was no one there. Now what were they going to do? A man came out of the house next door. "They're gone," he told Mandy and James. "Loaded the van last night and left about an hour ago." "Did they take the kittens?" Mandy asked anxiously. "Kittens?" the man said. Then he shrugged. "I don't know anything about any kittens." "Let's go and look in the shed," James said. They pushed open the side gate and ran round the path. The shed door was open. James peered inside. "It's no good," he said. "They're not here. I wonder what they've done with them." Mandy sat down on the back step and burst into tears. "I don't know," she sobbed. She couldn't bear to think what might have happened to the kittens. "And what are we going to tell Della? The residents will be so upset." James sat beside her, looking sad. Blackie had gone into the shed. They could hear him scrabbling about. Then he came out with a piece of old blanket in his mouth. James grabbed it. "Let go," he commanded. Blackie growled. He hung on more tightly than ever. He shook the piece of rag as if it were a rat. "Blackie," James said sternly. At last, Blackie let go. "It's the kitten's blanket," Mandy said, crying even harder. "Maybe they've taken them with Tabby after all." James tried to cheer Mandy up. "Because they couldn't find homes." Mandy shook her head. "No, Katie said her dad was going to get rid of them. But where? That's what I'd like to know." Blackie came to lick the tears off Mandy's cheeks. She buried her face in his soft fur. After a while, Mandy stopped crying. She stood up and squared her shoulders. Crying wouldn't bring the kittens back. She and James would just have to go and explain to Della what had happened. "We'd better go and tell my mom first," Mandy sniffed. "She was going to examine the kittens before we took them to Westmore House. She will be wondering where we've gone to." Mandy and James made their way back to Animal Ark. The postman, Bill Ward, had just pulled up out of his van outside the newsstand. He stopped there every morning to get his daily newspaper. "You two look very sad," he said when he saw Mandy and James. "What's up?" "We've lost 6 kittens," James said. 6 kittens? Mr. Ward looked surprised. "How on earth can you lose 6 kittens?" Mandy explained. "That's funny," Mr. Ward said. "I passed John Green's car this morning. It was right up the Moreland Road. I wondered why he was going up there at the crack of dawn. Where were they moving to, do you know?" Mandy shook her head. "No, it was far away because Katie has to go to a new school. Was there a moving van with them?" "No, I just saw his car heading for the moors." Bill shook his head. "Seems a bit odd to go for a drive the day you're moving to a new house." He shrugged. "Oh well, people are strange sometimes." He said goodbye to Mandy and James and drove off. Mandy watched him go with a frown on her face. She knew that narrow moorland road. It led right up to High Tor. She had been up there a few times with her mom and dad. They hadn't been going for a drive, though. They had been going up there for a special reason. She turned to James. "Quick!" she gasped. "I bet I know where Mr. Green was going." "Where?" James called as Mandy hurried on ahead. He dashed ahead of her, Blackie pulling at the leash. Mandy had already reached her house. Dr. Adam was in the driveway, cleaning the mud off his car. "Dad," Mandy said breathlessly, "are you busy?" "Not really," Dr. Adam said. "I'm off duty this morning." "Could you take us up to the Welford Animal Shelter, please?" Dr. Adam frowned. "What on earth for? I thought you were supposed to be picking up those kittens." "We are," Mandy said. "But when we got to Katie's house, everyone was gone." "Gone? What about the kittens?" "I've got a feeling Mr. Green might have taken them up to the shelter. Please, Dad." Mandy urged. "Can we go and see?" Dr. Adam opened the car door. "We certainly can," he said. "Hop in, you two." Mandy's heart pounded as Dr. Adam drove through the village. He headed up the moorland road toward the Welford Animal Shelter. The shelter was run by a woman named Betty Hilder. She took in all kinds of unwanted and abandoned animals. It would be just the place to take the kittens. When they reached the shelter, a donkey in the next field next to Betty's bungalow brayed a greeting. The sound of dogs barking came from the row of kennels behind the house. Mandy ran up the path and rang the doorbell. "I'm here," a voice called from one of the barns. Betty came out to greet them. "Hello, Mandy, what brings you here?" Dr. Adam and James got out of the car. They all began talking at once. "Well," she said when they had finished, "as a matter of fact—" She paused in mid-sentence. "Better still, come and see for yourselves." Betty led them around to the back door. She opened it and they followed her inside. She took them through to the kitchen. In front of the stove was a cardboard box. "There," Betty said. "Are they what you're looking for?" Mandy ran across the room and kneeled down. There, all curled up and sleepy, were the 6 tiny kittens. Mandy let out a sob of relief. "James, Dad, it's them! Oh, thank goodness!" James ran and kneeled beside her. "It's them, all right," he said to Dr. Adam. "Come and see." Dr. Adam took out one of the kittens. It made a soft mewing noise. Dr. Adam frowned. "This one's a bit thin," he said. Betty came to kneel beside them. "Yes, they all are. I found them on the doorstep when I got up this morning. They've had some more milk already, but they'd probably like some more." She went to heat some milk on the stove. Dr. Adam was examining the other kittens. "They are all right, Dad, aren't they?" Mandy asked anxiously. "I had a feeling they weren't being looked after very well." Her dad nodded. "They need to be put on a bit of weight, but they're all healthy enough. They're going to need some special care for a few days." "Oh, no," Mandy said, her heart sinking. "Della's very busy with a party and everything." "Della?" Betty came back with the milk. She poured it into 3 saucers. Mandy and James placed the kittens, 2 by 2, in front of them. They began lapping up the milk. Their tiny tongues flicked in and out so fast, they were just a blur. Mandy explained about Westmore House. "How wonderful," Betty said. "I'm so pleased the kittens are going to stay together. They're such a sweet little family." "But I don't know how Della's going to find time to give them special care," Mandy sounded worried. "I'd looked after them myself," said Betty, "but we've got a full house at the moment." Dr. Adam was stroking his beard thoughtfully. "Maybe we could have them at Animal Ark for a while," he said. Mandy drew in her breath. 6 kittens at the clinic? 6 kittens for her to look after? It would be like a dream come true. "Oh, Dad!" she cried. "Could we really?" Dr. Adam winked at Betty. I should think so," he said, "just this once." Mandy felt like cheering. This had to be one of the best days of her life.